So what do you call yourself? Welcome to the LaTangela Show. Hey.
Hey, what can I do for you this fine day?
This is your destiny. Hot, hot, hot. Right now.
Welcome to the LaTangela Show.
Kick it.
Come on in and enjoy yourself.
Right now.
We gon' party like no one else. Welcome to the LaTangela Show. Good morning, good morning, good morning, sunshine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, thank you for taking time out of your schedule and joining me today in the hot seat and on the tan line. I asked them to lock the doors to make sure that you don't leave because I have questions that need answers.
All right, let's get into it then.
You're no stranger when it comes to the world of entertainment. How did you know that you wanted to take this into a career choice that would just start paving the path and etching so many stories and bringing so many things to light for others?
Oh, like when I was really young, you mean?
Did it hit you when you were young? Did you just start this
Yeah,
as
I did actually. I think I'd always wanted to write, and I was falling in love with movies when I was like 18, 19 years old. And I think at the time, I probably thought that writing a screenplay would be easier than writing a novel, frankly.
yeah.
And I wrote my first script when I was about 18 or 19, and I fell in love with the medium. If you can like think visually, if you can sort of like think in pictures, writing a screenplay it can be really enticing. And I immediately like went down the rabbit hole, started reading as many scripts as I could, reading like going back, reading like the script to Rocky and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really fell in love with movies when I was very young, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
I love that. I love a good story behind the story because it shows a lot about the person and the intent that they bring when they're etching these. And now here we are streaming on Hulu, Say Nothing. It's actually based on a true story and a best-selling award-winning non-fictional novel. What inspired you to pick this up and say this is going to be the one?
I mean, the book is really good. First of all, the book is it's an exceptional, brilliant book. And so when I read it, it instantly became my favorite book. My first job in Hollywood actually was writing a movie about the IRA, funnily for Leonardo DiCaprio, when I was like 26 or 27. I'd written all these scripts. The first time I was ever paid to write was writing a movie for Leonardo DiCaprio that was about the IRA. So it was set in Northern Ireland. I had been sort of steeped in the culture of the Troubles, and had done a lot of research when I was in my 20s just about this time period. And then, I don't know, 15 years later, something like that, this book lands on my desk, which is going to be produced by the same guy who's going to produce that movie that I wrote when I was 26, which never got made. And
Wow,
so
full circle
I,
moment though.
yeah, full circle moment for sure. It was the guy, Brad Simpson. It was the guy who'd actually given me my first job when I was like 26. And I saw in the book a chance to sort of tell a story that was like it reminded me why I'd wanted to write film and television in the first place. It
Mhm.
had it had amazing characters with like a lot of psychological depth. It had action. It had, big kind of this propulsive energy that really captured the what it feels like to be in your 20s or a teenager and like get caught up in something, and I think that's what I really wanted to do with the show is I wanted to show you what it's like to sort of be a teenager or be in your early 20s and kind of get caught up in a movement. And
Right.
so, yeah. And then to follow those characters over the course of like 30 years as they then later would have to grapple with those decisions that they made as kids.
If you had to pick one of the characters that really grabbed you the most and told the story that you want every viewer to say, aha, I got it when I get it, who would that character be? Walk me through their timeline.
I mean, that character would probably be Dolores Price, who was a young Catholic girl who was living in Belfast in the late 60s. It's a deeply polarized society. So you got the Catholics on one side and the Protestants on the other side. The Protestants have like a lot of the privilege. The Catholics don't have a fair vote. Their housing is poor.
Mhm.
They're denied access to jobs, and they start a movement which is modeled after the civil rights movement in America, where they're fighting for
Mhm.
equal rights. And this girl, Dollars, is kind of like right in the middle of that. She's a protester. She's going to rallies. She's going to protests and sit-ins and all the things that kids were doing back then. And it doesn't work. Doesn't work for her. We show this in the first episode of the series. One of the protests ends in violence when they're attacked by kind of a mob of Protestants. In real life, they're actually attacked by a lot of off-duty cops while they're doing a peaceful protest, marching from Belfast to Derry. They were attacked by among other people, members of the B Specials that were like Protestant policemen. And it turned
Wow.
into this peaceful march turned into a violent conflict. And this girl, Dollars, says, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to convert these people. I'm not going to be able to change the world with nonviolence. And so instead, she picks up a gun and joins the IRA, which happens to be the sort of family tradition. Her father was in the
Mhm.
IRA, which is like it's a paramilitary group that is trying to overthrow the British who are in Northern Ireland and unite the country. And
Wow.
so she goes from nonviolence to violence in the first episode, and then you see the ramifications of that all throughout the series.
And when you're walking us through pieces like this, I like to call it edutainment. Of course, it's a great production, it's going to entertain us, but you're also educating so many in different perspectives. And it's a timepiece to where people can actually say, sometimes we take things for granted. And if you see some of the sacrifices that may not have been on our doorstep, but it was on someone's doorstep and it was important and it paved a way one way or the other. And just, I mean, I'm excited to see it. Hulu definitely got this one right. They know that they have the man for the job, especially for the one who gave you the first writing job and full circle moment. He saw something then that we all see now. So I'm excited about this.
I hope you like it, and I hope that it doesn't feel like homework. That's the only thing I'd say, because there's a thing with TV, right? Especially historical TV like this, where it can feel like homework for people. It can feel like, oh, I've got this show, I like hear it's good. It's like sitting there on the shelf, like this like big book that people maybe they want to watch, and maybe they kind of want to watch like I watch reality TV, so I'm much more likely to watch like a reality show than a big
Wait a
historical
minute.
epic, right? No, and so for me, the thing that I want to get across, I think probably to listeners, is that the show itself, the show itself is not anything that felt like a history lesson. I tried to
Uh-huh.
like get out of it. You know what I mean? I really tried to make it about these sisters,
I
about these
get that.
characters,
Right.
and I really tried to make it what it feels like in the first couple episodes is like I just wanted to capture the feeling of like being a kid and being swept up in something, and that at times is undeniably fun. The characters have talked about it being fun. I think the sisters themselves they're charismatic, they're funny, they were like
Mhm.
witty girls who were going around, and everyone, a lot of people were kind of captivated by them. And I think they draw you in. And then it's only really later that you have to kind of like wrestle with some of the choices that they're making, as they become increasingly intense over the course of the series. But I do want people to know that it's a series that's trying to capture the energy of youth.
Absolutely. And while you're writing this and all of this is so good, how do you decide what's going to hit that cutting room floor? I know that this is a labor of love and you got to love all of it. So how do you know that, man, it's not going to quite make it?
I mean, that's such a good question. Like the post process, which is like the process of cutting the show, it was like an 8-month process. It was crazy. I mean,
What?
It was nuts. Yeah, it was. I mean, I worked on a
Oh
show.
no,
I
no, no.
worked on
You
a
know
show.
what? The problem is you loved all of it, and we just need to extend the series because I need to see the 8 months worth at this point.
I know. No, it's we had so much on the cutting room floor. Like you don't know. Like you make a show 3 times. You make it one time when you write the script, you make it another time when you shoot it, and you make it a third time in the edit. And truly, like you don't know what's going to survive. Like some of my favorite stuff is on the cutting room floor. And I think really what you have to do is just make it about the emotional experience of the characters. It was really about kind of centering it on these two sisters and their emotional journey and everything that, had an impact on that or on some of the other characters, we're following. I think that stuff stays and everything sort of
Yeah.
outside that emotional experience, you just try to cut, even if it's like a big important event in Irish history. We had a ton of stuff that for Irish people, I think was really these sort of seismic events. And
Mhm.
ultimately, our characters weren't there, and we just had to cut them.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know what? We're here for it. Get the good snacks and get there early because it is now streaming on Hulu. Say nothing. And while I'm watching it, I need them to say nothing to me because I'm all in. And I
Oh my.
want you to make a quick field trip to Louisiana too, because I'm sure something here will get you inspired. So come on down. I got you
I
on the
mean,
tour.
I like it. It's my favorite American city, so I'm there.
Absolutely. Say nothing streaming on Hulu right now. Josh, I know you have more work to do. So I'm going to let you chase the sun or let the sun chase you. But either way, get after it. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Thanks very much. Thanks for
Thank you
having me.
so much. Good morning, sunshine. How are you?
Good morning, Ken. Good. How are you doing?
I am excellent. Even better now that I have you in the hot seat and on the tan line because I have questions that need answers.
Let's do it.
The
Great.
Emmy-Award Winning Way, brothers. You two have been busy. You are bringing so much entertainment to the scene. So, who's the mastermind behind getting the script? Who's the mastermind that stays up to 4 o'clock in the morning, making sure that all of the creatives come together? Because I know this has got to be a great collaborative effort.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the mastermind behind it all. It's really simple. I can answer that.
Duh.
Like, we don't even need this guy, to be honest. We could just interview me and you. No, we're brothers. We've been working together for 10 years. Mac does a lot of the research. He does all the interviews with the subjects. I do a little bit more of the editing and some of the filming, some of the creative stuff, and it's a great partnership. We haven't killed each other yet, so fingers crossed.
And look, working with your brother, isn't that a documentary in the making itself? Because I mean,
It could be. It could be. There's definitely we've had some good arguments over the years that are definitely TV worthy.
well, you definitely got it right with this one. Netflix and thrills. That's what we're here for. The Kings of Tupelo. It's a Southern crime saga. I'm here in Louisiana, and I'm thinking this is right next door. There's absolutely no way it can be this insane. Because I'm watching the snippet, an elephant got shot in the drive-by shooting. Make it all make sense.
That's only the beginning of the madness. But yeah, I mean, in 1999, an Elvis impersonator in Tupelo, Mississippi, which is the birthplace of Elvis Presley,
Yeah.
he's working at the hospital as a janitor. He's cleaning up in the morgue and he uncovers a severed head with a lot of body parts. He becomes convinced he's uncovered a black market organ trade that's happening in Tupelo, in Mississippi, in the South. It leads him on a crazy conspiracy rabbit hole to state congressman Steve Holland, senator of Mississippi Roger Wicker, and eventually to President Barack Obama. All three of these
Wow.
individuals receive poisonous, deadly letters in the mail. And our series looks into what happened here. Is Paul Kevin Curtis, the Elvis impersonator, is he guilty? Is he innocent? Is there someone else in the story that maybe set him up? And so it's a fun wild ride.
You got to get to part 3 for all that stuff. Big detective.
Right.
The big
And while you're
whodunit.
putting all of this together, how do you decide what's going to actually make the documentary and what falls on the cutting room floor? Because that's
like
the
a
stuff I
three-
want to see
yeah.
too.
I know it's not easy, and it's been about a 2.5-3 year process of editing this. I mean, excuse me. What was also interesting about making this is This is essentially a documentary about a conspiracy theory. Like, it's Kevin, our main character, finds a severed head. He believes that there's a black market organ body parts trade happening in his town, in America, in Mississippi. And he goes on trying to piece together his organ trade, and he makes a lot of enemies. Now, simultaneously, he's feuding with someone else who is going to become involved in these ricin letters. So it's kind of this like crazy rabbit hole, but then it's almost like that cork board where you have strings and you have your main characters. And to answer your question, it's not easy to make sense of a conspiracy theory, like when you're editing it, but you have to make sense of the conspiracies. But conspiracies are inherently confusing, so that was a big challenge. And then how do you make it like fun and entertaining? And hopefully the response has been good. Hopefully, I like to think that we managed that, but obviously you got to tune in and watch it as well.
Well, that part, and I'm telling everybody right now, get your popcorn, get all the good snacks, because we have to be here, and you have to watch it over and over and over again, because if you blink, you're gonna miss something, because it's like this guy, you said he was an Elvis impersonator, okay, and then he's a janitor at the hospital, so we see how
An
creative
Elvis
he
themed
is.
janitor, which is
Really?
The king of
Really?
clean was
And if this is in 1989, this is before you've got mail. This is before any social media. So this guy is really living in a creative space that's not as norm as now. Because if people do things now, you just think it's a trend. You just think he set the trend in a different way.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a very creative individual, big imagination, grandiose ideas, and when he found this severed head, was convinced that it was part of this massive conspiracy. And like you said, it was kind of before conspiracies kind of became commonplace in our culture. So he was out in front of that whole trend, I believe, and I think this story takes an interesting look at his whole journey.
How did he go from taking it to a possible black market to sending threats to the president? Like, that's a big leap. What are we doing?
It is. And so, one of the first persons he reaches out to is he basically writes his own House resolution bill to ban the organ donation process. He wants to ban all sale and donations of organ parts, and he sends it to the state congressman. Well, the state congressman, Steve Holland, happens to own 3 of the largest funeral homes in the state of Mississippi, which is Kevin is convinced is part of this body parts trade. So that's kind of his first run-in with a politician. That then leads him to Senator Roger Wicker in Washington, D.C. Senator Wicker had actually hired Kevin as an Elvis impersonator to perform at a wedding. So Kevin comes into contact with Senator Roger Wicker, starts pressuring Wicker to help pass his House bill resolution. Kevin gets nowhere, and before you know it, politicians and Barack Obama are receiving poisonous letters.
Yeah, so actually, Steve Holland's mother was a judge in Tupelo, Mississippi. Kevin had gotten in some trouble by a run-in with the local DA, and Kevin ended up getting sentenced to 6 months in prison by Steve's own mother, and she was one of the ones that got ricin letters. So it's like, but I got a caveat, and I don't want to ruin it because it's a big spoiler. But episode 3 is all about how not all is what it seems. So what we just laid out is the first 2 episodes.
Wow.
Episode 3 is a whole new perspective into what actually happened. And it's a little hard to talk about without spoiling it, but that's certainly what the climax of the series is.
That's okay. You can keep me at the trailer, because all of that is just building the suspense. Like, oh no, you've got to be here. You've got to see this. This is definitely a hashtag and retweetable moment. And so since I see that you're inking it, I know that you're working on something next with America's self-proclaimed team. And I have to say that because we're in Saints Nation. So I just have to say that disclaimer. But we're excited to see what else you're working on with the Cowboys. We are excited about all the things that you're bringing. And the Kings of Tupelo. Okay, so if Mississippi is scratching, I see you're making your way to Texas. You've got to come to Louisiana. You got to get here.
I know. It was actually, we had a trip planned down to New Orleans, and then it was like the craziest thunderstorms I've ever had in my life when I was in Northeast Virginia, and it was like, I don't think anyone's getting on the road today, but next time for sure, we got to get there.
Look, it's a sign. Don't let it hold you up from further greatness. And I am your official tour guide.
I was willing to drive. It was this guy that was scared, all right?
Exactly. Look, I am super proud of both of you, and I am
Thank you.
excited to see this. The Kings of Tupelo, this is a saga that we cannot afford to miss. I've got questions that need answers. You gave me the inside scoop, but no, I got to go press play. I don't have time to play with y'all right now. You know what I mean?
It's a
This is too
crazy
good.
story. It's wildly entertaining and funny, and I think people will enjoy it. Go watch. It's on Netflix. Top 5 today. So go click play.
That's right, exclusively streaming on Netflix. And I want you to think of this as an extension of your office. So whenever you have anything going on, feel free to jump in the hot seat and on the tan line. I know you've got more work to do, so I'm gonna let you chase the sun or let the sun chase you. But either way,
All right.
get after it. I love
Right.
y'all, and there's absolutely
Thank you.
nothing you
Thank you
can
so
do
much,
about it.
Ken. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Great talking this morning.
Anytime.
Bye-bye.